Yeah, so today we're here
It's
to
easier.
talk about Element, your game. Thankfully I had I'm hoping the first preview on Switch. Which is
Yeah,
pretty
you
damn
did.
cool.
Yeah,
Um,
cool.
no, because I personally I love space. Like science, that whole kind of thing. So like movies like Interstellar, I guess Star Wars. That kind of stuff. I love. So have you seen Interstellar yourself?
Yep, for sure. Yeah, we're giant sci-fi geeks, so we
Yeah,
wanted to make our last game was a was like a family-friendly little B 2D game for iPhone, and Greg and I both wanted to make something sci-fi. So that 4 years ago when we decided to start making Element, we decided we wanted to do something quite sci-fi. So
And yeah, it turned out to be the complete opposite of our previous game,
yeah,
which was family friendly, no death, no carnage, nice cartoony graphics,
yeah,
2D. And we went into a 3D space epic with explosions and madness
yeah.
and real time strategy. And yeah, the complete opposite. So it's been, a long journey, a long time coming.
And I guess we
Pretty
come
rewarding.
from we come. Don't want to talk over top of you, but we come from a design company background. So we didn't start out making games. We are a design studio. So we come from that kind of aesthetic point of view first, rather than probably thinking about a game point of view first. But a whole lot of the kind of reference for Element was quite filmic anyway, quite sci-fi filmic, with kind of trying to keep one panning shot throughout the whole game. And when you go from menu to menu, just it's one continuous long scroll, because like you're on a dolly system and a camera or something like that.
yeah. So tell us, when did Flightless, like when was it founded, and like why did you come together to make, this group like to make games?
Well, we started back in 2005, which seems like a long time ago now, and we were doing traditional design stuff like branding and websites and museum installations. We do quite a few museum installation pieces, and then around about 2009, when iOS and the App Store launched for iPhones, we had a guy actually who was renting studio space off us that had made a game and done quite well out of it. And we thought, oh, we've always wanted to make games, but we've never been able to solve this kind of distribution issue. And we've done a bit of work with a large New Zealand games company just doing all their UI and graphic design. And so we decided, oh, look, let's get on the mobile game thing and start playing around with doing some mobile games. And that kind of moved into completely changing the way we did things and focusing more on games.
Yeah. So like tell us your idea for Element, like where did it come from, and why did you make a game like this?
Yeah, good point. We when we came off the back of B Leader, as I said before, we wanted to change, do something completely different,
Yeah.
and we had a much smaller scope in mind. Like Element, as minimal as it is turned out, we had a much smaller scope, and we wanted to make it started as an idea for a one-touch thumb flicking iPhone game to flick satellites into orbit, and we kind of started with that, and then it ballooned out. We started, of course, talking about the various prototype ideas and stuff, and then started going back to the sci-fi programs that we grew up watching, and old Spectrum, Commodore 64, and Amiga games that we liked, and
Nuclear War.
yeah, Nuclear War on the Amiga, and DEF CON, and a bunch of games like that. Movies like War Games and stuff. So threw all these ideas in the pot, and then it turned from a 2D game into, we started getting into Unity, which the game is built in. Started learning some 3D stuff and doing 3D stuff, and then it evolved into a much bigger beast than we anticipated.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think we wanted to make a real-time strategy game, but we wanted to make a game that we had time to play ourselves, and we don't have time to play a lot of games these days. So
Yeah.
we like the idea of distilling down what the best parts of an RTS would be into kind of a bite-sized format. And that went from the idea of the gameplay right through to the look and feel of it. So we've distilled down the look and feel to be quite iconographic. So yeah, that's where it kind of ended up going, and it's been a bit of a labour of love, and we haven't worked full time on it because we've got commercial work to pay the bills at the moment. So it's been 4 years, but it hasn't been full time. But it's been a good chunk of time.
We spent quite a lot of time on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Greg, you showed me the VR video.
Oh yeah.
I'm there going, holy shit! Like this is fucking deadly.
It is pretty cool. We as I said when we were talking earlier, we've got it running on the Xbox. We've had it running on all these platforms for ages. And when we first got the Vive and the Oculus, we had this 2 years worth of 3D game sitting in front of us, and we thought, well, one of the first things we actually did was grab our own content and throw it into VR. So we had quite a bit of fun with that, and you can play the whole game at the moment, Element as it is in VR with a game controller. There's just no dedicated UI, so we really want to spend time if we get the time, we'd love to flesh it out and actually release a VR version of it, because it is cool. John, we've had it running, and John's in the visor, and I'm moving stuff around because it's all in prototype. It doesn't, it's not fully, because there's no UI. He couldn't control everything. But yeah, like orbiting around and having this massive planet move under you feels really cool. Even the menu's awesome.
Yeah, it's quite crazy. You're standing in the menu, you're standing there, and there's that massive sun with Element written on it, and it's like blazing away. You almost kind of feel the heat on the side of your face because there's this huge sun staring at you at the face.
Yeah, and then we experimented. I think one of the videos is the various sizes. So we experimented having all of the units and satellites and stuff all really small. So I've got these photos on the phone of John on his hands and knees on the floor, crouching over, trying to look at all these really tiny models. And then we had it so you could keyboard control it, so you could zoom in, and then had a bunch of vantage points. We had all the units on the ground and a couple of satellites way up in the sky and the mothership, and you could actually be like the size of an ant on the mothership, peering down off the side of this thing, like kilometers of distance between you and the ground, and just seeing all, particularly your own stuff that we had only seen on the screen.
Yeah.
That we're suddenly surrounded by, and as we've talked about VR quite a bit, and you don't really need to do too much to make VR compelling. We often say you can put a white box in a white room with a bit of lighting, and it feels like you're there. So to see our own content, particularly, the content that we were really familiar with in the last couple of years, been staring at it for a long time, to see that come to life was really cool. So yeah, we'd love to get a bit of time to polish that off. As we've talked about, the game's coming out on Steam. It's been on early access for a while, so it would be pretty cool to release the VR version of that.
Yeah, personally, I'd love to hear your take on VR. I guess at the moment, because like people make games in VR where they're not even first-person view. Would you agree that games look best in first-person view, or do you think people should go outside the box, literally, with the third-person view, that kind of stuff? Kind of it's like 2D games as well. You can see them from like a standard TV point of view, if you get me.
Yeah. Well, you're probably seeing both. We, as John said, we've been around in the design industry and doing stuff for years, and seen a couple of waves of virtual reality, and we were pretty early on playing with augmented reality as well for some of our design studio work. And you can see the relatively slow uptake of VR at the moment is being held back by crypto, all the mining. No one can afford all the video cards and all that kind of stuff. But also the attachment, the having to have your headsets plugged in and have reasonably powerful computers and all that kind of stuff. At the same time, from the development point of view, really early on, there wasn't a lot of research into what players find comfortable, what they don't find comfortable, and it was quite a few quite small indie developers and stuff who pretty early on jumped in and figured out, whoa, all these things you do and don't want to do, like locomotion, moving around, you can feel pretty sick pretty quickly, and even simple things like moving backwards. You can move forwards relatively, quite slowly and stuff, and not get people motion sick and feeling ill.
Yeah.
But I remember playing, I think it was Land's End, and if you're looking at the wrong direction and the camera's moving backwards, you just get that lurch and feel a bit ill all of a sudden.
I think if you've got motion sickness, if you get motion sickness anyway, you're going to get motion sickness in VR, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a much doubt about that.
If you're reading and moving at the same time.
I've got a love-hate relationship with it, really. Like, because I find it highly engaging, but then I also find it really isolating because it's you in a headset. And the nice thing about console games when they came along on PlayStation was you could have a few beers with some mates on a couch and play games together. And the VR at the moment is just the antithesis of that, really. But we've just done a VR piece for a local museum recently, a war museum. It's a bit of a VR war thing. And I think that the museums understand that too, because for them it's quite a hassle, all the gear. They might have a couple of headsets in a museum and, 1,000 people go through a day and completely destroy the headsets. And it's a real hassle for them. But then everyone who experiences it just loves it. So they just have to keep doing it. It's the same thing that the developers are finding. Like there's going to be an audience there, and it's really compelling. But it's hard to know exactly what the sweet spot is going to be.
And there's moves at the moment. We're following the API development from Google and some of the stuff that Unity are announcing, and Apple with their AR. There's more of a move to make that social connection. So a lot of the tools that have been provided to developers now are getting multiplayer and networking and stuff baked into them. Whereas before, the earlier stuff, it wasn't quite there. I think the platforms are realising that there needs to be more engagement, and particularly, as John says, that more of a sense of doing stuff with your mates or with other players rather than that isolation.
But it would be cool to do all kinds of VR games rather than ones where you just pick up a gun, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, I guess the cheapest kind of VR headset at the moment is PlayStation VR, if I'm correct. Like, what price is it there in New Zealand? Like,
I don't know what the PlayStation VR is.
We're lucky we got given ours by PlayStation. I'm not sure what. I think it might be around 450.
I don't know what the current Pro is.
Yeah, not sure.
But see, games are very expensive in Australia and New Zealand, if I'm correct.
I think so, compared to the UK, for sure.
With the exchange rate, it fluctuates, and we actually picking a price point is really interesting, and particularly with something like Element, where we're targeting cross-platform. So we're looking at mobile, we're looking at desktop, we're looking at the Switch, and trying to pick a price that is not taking the piss, but also not leaving us, dry.
Yeah.
And then also because the game is quite consistent across the platforms, not penalising someone for picking it up on one platform and thinking, oh, this is twice the price or half the price for the other platform, and actually choosing that appropriately for our studio and for the players all around the world is interesting. The one thing we did do for Australia and New Zealand, because we know loads, just about the whole industry here, and we go across to Australia. We've been to PAX a couple of times and stuff. So the one thing we did based on feedback and experience and meeting members of the press and other game developers and stuff is we kept our price in New Zealand and Australia a little bit lower. So a little favouritism there, but we couldn't justify charging the US exchange rate or the Euro exchange rate to New Zealand. It just didn't
feel right.
Yeah. Now, can I ask, is it fine to talk about the whole process with Nintendo? Like, how the hell did you get your game on Switch, so early on?
Well, I wouldn't even consider it early on. We were signed up developers last year, I think, and then we kind of let it rest because we were busy trying to get it done for mobile and get the desktop version and do these other projects, our client work. And then some people we met at PAX a couple of years ago, a couple of people, super fans, they really loved the game and they kept in touch. And they pinged us a while ago going, hey, we've got mates of ours who play on the Switch. And
Helen and Seamus in Australia.
Helen and Seamus, yes. And we've got mates, and there's not a lot of strategy games, and we really think you should think about getting on the Switch. And I think it was about the week before we had sent an email off to Nintendo of Europe, because Australia and New Zealand, we get managed through the European side. So we'd sent an email to them just going, hey, we're working on this game. Sent them screenshots, sent them some video and stuff of the early access, and just had our fingers crossed that they would respond. And it took a couple of weeks. We waited a couple of weeks, and then in between, these guys, Seamus and Helen, got back to us and said, "Hey, we really think you should be getting on Switch." And then I think that afternoon, the email arrived from Nintendo of Europe going, "Yep, cool, we'd love to give you access and stuff." So I think if we had approached them maybe with like last year with just a game idea on paper, they might not have been as receptive. But they saw a working game on early access. They saw video and stuff, and they probably saw that. They did a quick look and see that we'd released titles previously. So maybe that gave us an extra foot in the door. But stuff that we've been following lately that it looks like Nintendo is really embracing, particularly the indies, the indie studios and stuff, and they're opening the door a bit more.
It's such a cool platform, though. I mean, it's just so nice. Like, it's real. There's someone at Nintendo has sat down and thought about not only we've got a dev kit version, which actually means you can't play games on it. So we use it for Element, and we haven't got the store, but just picking up the device and feeling it, and the sounds, the feedback, user input sounds on it, it just makes you feel like you're back in the arcade when you're 12 years old playing games. It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's kind of made for Element as well. Like it's a screen with controllers on either side. It just feels like our game should be on it, to us anyway.
Yeah, the other thing is, when we started designing the game, as I said, we started out with a 2D one-touch, satellite flicking kind of game, and it morphed into what it is now. But the one thing that we kept constant was we wanted it to be cross-platform because our previous game had been pretty much just iPhone only, and we released it on the Mac and we had it ported to Android. But this one we said, all right, we're gonna go cross-platform. So we made sure right from the beginning that it played in touch, it played mouse and keyboard, and it played with the game controller. But the game controller we actually added not immediately. It came a little bit after, and then it ended up surprising us as being our favourite controller, our favourite input method. So then when it came later on to grabbing the Switch and putting it on there, pretty much everything worked. Yeah. Like it just was the primo device for it. It was ended up really good.
Yeah. So guys, tell us what games you played growing up. Like what systems as well.
Too many. Well, I started with a
Simply ZX81.
Yeah, I started with a Pong game, black and white Pong, Sportstronic it was called. I think it was a rip-off, like a local rip-off of a console from overseas. And then my first computer was a 48K Spectrum, and then moved on to an Amiga 500.
Amiga.
So I played a lot of Amiga games. Also had what else did I have? Atari 2600. Still got that sitting in a box over in my room over here. And a couple of PlayStations and stuff. But I guess my formative gaming. Well, I did have a couple of the original Nintendo. I had the now what you call slightly racist Fire Attack with a bunch of cowboys and Indians fending off people trying to set fire to their fort.
Yeah.
And Oil Panic and a couple of other games like that.
Yeah, for me, it was all about the Amiga early on. Amiga 500 was incredible. There's quite an amazing game scene on the Amiga back in the day. And I used to trade games at high school with people on the Amiga, and actually some of the guys I used to trade games with now run the biggest games company in New Zealand. So it's pretty cool. And even early working days like Nintendo 64, 1080 snowboarding on the Nintendo 64, Banjo-Kazooie, all that kind of stuff was fantastic.
But what about games though? Like Speedball's always a classic.
Speedball, yeah.
Played plenty of Speedball.
Speedball 2. What else?
Too many on the Amiga.
Barbarian.
Yeah, I still remember the sounds. I can hum all the music, still remember all the sounds. The same as loads of other games, obviously. Everyone's got their passionate games that they've been passionate about, and will
What about you?
Go to the grave.
What about you? What are your favourite games from back in the day?
Well, how old do you think I am?
I don't know. I'm infinitely more old than you, I bet.
Yeah. I'm 27, but
jeez.
I know, yeah. I'm so young. But games played growing up would be GoldenEye 64, Mario Kart 64. I don't know, just for me, like the Super Nintendo and N64 era was just so amazing. The games, like the quality of games.
Yeah. GoldenEye was great. Multiplayer GoldenEye, that was amazing.
Oh yeah. Oh guys, you should make your own first-person shooter game in the style of Element, but something like GoldenEye. mix two of them together, and there you go. You have a game.
Yeah, multiplayer.
Sounds easy.
Yeah.
Multiplayer. Just add multiplayer.
Yeah, that's what
just
we
add another 3 years to your development.
Well, if Element does actually provide us any kind of runway at all to make the next game, Element multiplayer would be high on the list of what we would want to do.
Yeah. But no, but I don't know. Just games like GoldenEye, like I love the Wii personally. Super Mario Galaxy for me is the greatest game of all time that I played. It's like for what it is, like if you look at games during that era, PS3, Wii, 360, like Galaxy just looked amazing for the like the spec of the machine, like considered Wii was crappy graphics like compared to the PS3 or the Xbox 360, like Metal Gear Solid 4 on PS3. Classic game. For me, it's my favorite Metal Gear Solid game that I've played so far.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Just been blown away by Wipeout.
Wipeout?
Wipeout 2097, the original PlayStation.
Yeah, I never really played it much, but like stuff like Ridge Racer, and Tekken, like back then.
Yeah.
And like even Mickey's Wild Adventure, did you ever play that game before?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Great game. The first PS1 game ever made. Released, yeah.
I remember that game.
There's another really cool game on the PlayStation, Road Trip, a car driving game. Played heaps of that.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty funny. And PC games, there's a long history of that. But I played all of the original, Doom and Quake and.
You're a Quake.
Well, I played a lot of Quake.
Commandos?
And Descent. Played I remember Commando on the Spectrum 48K, but that's probably a little bit different.
Yeah.
And of course real-time strats, like the original real-time strat, June 2, Westwood Studios. It turned, they went on to do Command and Conquer and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, there's a bit of that influence in a game like Element.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly put a few hours into that. Not as much into StarCraft and stuff. I was more on the Command and Conquer side.
Life killers, those things.
Yeah. But then, as John said, as we've been really busy with our studio work and then also working on our own games, definitely find less time to put into other games. I think the last couple of games that I've really loved have been Portal and Portal 2. Certainly put a few hours into that.
What about Left 4 Dead?
Haven't played Left 4 Dead.
You never played it? Oh, it's so good. It's so good online.
Played all the Half-Life stuff, but not Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of Counter-Strike in our time.
Yeah, bit of CS, bit of the original Battlefield, and some of the mods there. Heaps of multiplayer. That's what we used to work in a post-production place together, and at night when all the work stopped, quite a bit of gaming would happen. So quite a few hours put into things like Battlefield and stuff.
Yeah. So guys, can I get your take on like Wii U versus Switch? Like your personal opinion. Like, what makes Switch so different? I guess maybe better, I don't know, or worse than Wii U? Because like Wii U, I guess, flopped big time compared to Switch sales already.
Well, the Wii U. First of all, I've never seen a Wii U.
What?
I don't know anyone. I have not
made it.
Don't have any friends who've got a Wii U. Had friends with Wii, but no one I know had a Wii U here.
Well, you know me.
Okay, well, three of us. I mean,
it just didn't penetrate here at all, really. It's interesting too because I thought the PSP as well. I wouldn't say it flopped, but it kind of felt like the mobile gaming market has taken over the handheld game device. The phones are going to outstrip the handheld game device, and then Nintendo come along with the Switch, and it's like, wow, this is awesome. And so I don't know how they do that. I mean, the Game Boy was awesome, the Wii was awesome, but I've never actually played a Wii U, never even touched one. So what is it great? Do you think it's great? Do you think it's better than the Switch?
No, I don't think so. But I mean, like, I miss two screens, to be honest. Like, I guess like this game, Zombie U came out on release day, and then like you had your real time. I guess like you have your backpack on the second screen on the gamepad, and then like zombies are coming after you. But what's cool though, like you're doing whatever, but all in real time. While they're attacking you, kind of thing. It's not like you pause the screen and then just sort of like Resident Evil, if you get me. You pause the screen, and then into your inventory, and then that's it, back into real time. But I guess I don't know. Zombie U was different. What else? well, Star Fox Zero, but that was a disaster. You know, but this I don't get, right. Like Nintendo are like the masters of being, you know, I guess most innovative company, you know, game company in the industry today, but they couldn't utilize second screen, you know. But like there's indie games that have, you know, used two screens better than Nintendo have themselves, which doesn't make sense, you know. I guess probably their best second screen experience would be Mario Maker. You know, Super Mario Maker on the Wii U. But like even that there, like even I didn't think it was a great game overall. You know.
I know. It's interesting, the different markets. I don't know. I think we've discovered literally in the last couple of weeks, really, looking at the Switch stuff, just how many Nintendo communities there are that foster around different platforms, and it's such a vibrant following community on Nintendo. You know, there's diehard Nintendo. You're really passionate, and it's awesome to see. I mean, each to their own, you know.
Yeah. No, like I guess I am a diehard Nintendo fan, but I mean, like I'm a diehard gamer fan, you know, because I love gaming overall on all platforms, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, what would be your favorite platform of all time so far, personally?
I don't know, 64 probably. Console, Nintendo 64. It's hard to know though. It's, you know, I don't have a lot of time these days to play games.
Yeah, for the nostalgia and just still say the Amiga 500 because I had so many years injected into
shoeboxes full of games.
The reason I turned into a coder and got into interactive programming and all that stuff was just purely the Amiga 500, and particularly the demo scene. All of the people who used to crack games and go to the parties and make music and all the amazing code and graphics and all that stuff. Like all of that stuff got me into what I'm doing now. So yeah, I had the most nostalgia and the most passion for something like that, and which is a shame if you are an Amiga 500 fan or an Amiga fan, the way that company disintegrated and fell apart because Commodore let it blow up, and then it's been through I don't know how many companies since. But it's a bit sad. But apart from that, it's it would be the Amiga.
Yeah, that was definitely the formative years, the Amiga.
But yeah, for modern stuff, there's just so many ways to play, and no doubt more coming. You know, following things like the AR and VR,
Magic Leap.
Yeah, Magic Leap, and you've got all the stuff. You've got Samsung, who are apparently releasing foldable screens and stuff next year. Rumors and all that kind of stuff. It's just so much happening. It's hard to keep a track of. And as a developer, I mean, we're trying to get as much stuff as we can done as quickly as we can, and targeting all these platforms and stuff. And yeah, you got one eye on the road in front of you and the other one down, just trying to get stuff done.
I think you have to call out the iPhone as well. I mean, that's changed everything. Really, the iPhone, the App Store changed absolutely everything for small-time game developers and small-time app developers. You know, suddenly there's a marketplace for your stuff. We can sell direct to consumer. It's, you know, previously you had to stamp CDs and carry them around the world to get your game around, and it just changed working life, you know.
I think, yeah, you raise a good point there, because without people having, like us, having the ability to make a little game and put it on the App Store, that probably wouldn't have encouraged Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo to open the doors to small-time developers. Like the development kits that we purchase now, like some of them we've been sent and other ones we've purchased, but that used to be $25,000 a piece or $50,000 a piece just to get
PlayStation developer.
Just to get your foot in the door. But now I think Nintendo of America are doing they've got an Indies program, and they're encouraging more developers and stuff, and assisting developers to get on their platform and things like that. So that wouldn't have happened without things like the iPhone.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't be sitting here chatting to you about a game we've got coming out in a couple of days. We wouldn't have been able to afford it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that's changed, of course, is engines. You know, you've got Unreal, Unity, and a bunch of others. We happen to use Unity, but there's heaps. Now I love coding and I love being able to build stuff, but I wouldn't probably be in a position to release a game on 4 or 5 platforms at once had I been sitting here programming my own engine. So yeah, the empowerment that's happened, particularly in the last few years, with the costs going down and stuff, and essentially now at the entry level, Unity and Unreal are free, and a bunch of others. Yeah, that's really opened the doors.
Alright guys, just before we go, talk about the music for the game, you know. Like, who made it, you know, like, are any plans to release it, you know, online after?
We'd love to. We actually, a guy we work with, Jeremy Cullen down in Wellington, we worked with him on some commercial projects. And then when it came to time to put some sound effects and stuff into the game, I had previously done the sound and John had helped out. And some of our previous games, I'd done the music and stuff as well. So I had the grand ideas of being able to make my own soundtrack and stuff to this and do all the sound again. And it just got to the point where actually we needed to get a bunch of stuff done. So we thought we'd ask Jeremy, and he really kindly jumped on board and spent a couple of weeks finding some sounds and digging them up. And then he asked at the end of that, well, what are you guys doing for the music? And we said, oh, well, Greg wants to do a bunch, you know, so, you know, and we don't have any money. We couldn't afford the music at the time. So we said, oh, you know, Greg's going to try and do stuff and that. And he said, oh, yeah, okay. So then,
but we kind of had a bit of a brief as well for the kind of music that we wanted. You know, very kind of Vangelis, Blade Runner inspired kind of stuff.
And then must have kept going in his head, because he actually he contacted us a couple of weeks later after we'd finished integrating some sounds, and we sent stuff back, and he was going, oh, a little bit more here and a little bit more reverb and blah 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 here. So we were doing that, and it must have been kicking around in his head, because he came back and sent us a couple of tracks and said, oh, look, I know you didn't ask me to do it, but here's some music for you. And John heard it first and said, oh, you got to hear this, it sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And then
that's not all of it too, there's more of it.
Yeah, there's more, it's awesome. So I was disappointed that he'd come in and made a whole bunch of music, of course, but it's awesome. And we would love to get more. We had grand ideas when we had the 7 planets, which is on early access, and now we've got the 14 planets, that we'd have a soundtrack for each planet, because it was only a minimal game. We only intended to play the game, each of the levels, for a few minutes at a time. So it kind of suits maybe having a bit of a theme. So we'd love to go back and, of course, if we can, add a bit more in.
Yeah, if you've got any show notes, we'll definitely send you a link to Jeremy's site and his music, because he's done like the Foley on The Hobbit and things like that. He's like, you know, a film guy.
Well,
so he's
cool.
pretty pro. Yeah.
Actually, sorry, before we go, tell us, I guess, do you guys love Lord of the Rings as well?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. No, because it was filmed in New Zealand, if I'm correct.
Yeah, it dominates us.
Yeah.
Yeah. We worked at a post-production place that did a bit of work on it.
Yeah.
And most of we lived in Wellington, where of course Weta and stuff is. So a lot of the community there. Everyone knows someone who works there, and we've got heaps of friends and stuff who work out there.
Yeah, so everyone knows someone who works at Weta. So
it's pretty dominating. Yeah.
That's amazing. Get me over there, will you? And get me talking to people like.
It's really cool. It is really cool. I mean, there's a lot of promotion that happens here for the film industry in New Zealand, but what Peter Jackson's done out in Miramar and Wellington is just quite incredible, really. And they've got a really cool little museum now where you can go in, and actually my son is crazy on Thunderbirds, so they've got a little set there. You can walk around the Thunderbirds set, and it's just awesome. It's so cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys, just remind us who you are and where can we find you on social media as well.
I'm John O'Reilly. I'm the creative director of Flightless. You can find us at FlightlessNZ, or I'm at John O'Reilly NZ on Twitter. And our site is elementgame.com, and the game is Element.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. This is Greg, by the
way. John said everything.
No, I didn't say your Twitter. But he doesn't really participate on Twitter much.
I'm a little bit less on the Twitter side.
Yeah.
See, we're older. With this whole social media stuff for us is still pretty foreign.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
So talking to people like you is good.
Yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. You know, you pick up Element this Friday. It's, I guess, 2 days for us as we're speaking, you know. You can check us out on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. And for more Nintendo and Element, keep it right here. Thanks for watching. And as always, guys, stay fresh.